Hello again, and welcome to A Satanic Perspective. My name is Kane Del Sol. Today I wanted to cover a subject that had been touched on in one of my recent videos. How it was worded in that video may have confused some people as to my stance, so I wanted to elucidate the issue as much as possible. In my recent video discussing a viewer question regarding my thoughts on the afterlife, I had mentioned that after life, there is nothing. I wanted to make clear that this nothing is not the nothing that most people consider when they hear the word, but a divine nothingness that transcends concepts of time, life, death, and existence. To truly comprehend this, I'll have to try and explain a related concept in Satanism, and that is chaos. Chaos, in the eyes of the Gnostic or theistic Satanist, generally is depicted as a type of primordial origin of existence, a writhing sea of unformed, unknowable potential from which thought and life self-generated. Now this is an interesting point because chaos, as it is defined in this view, would encompass all things that could ever happen, across all time and timelines. Thus the formation of the universe would be necessitated. Even a millionth of a percent chance occurrence is guaranteed within the scope of the infinite. However, that also necessitates the eventual fall of this universe back into chaos, by the same principles. Many Satanists that believe this concept seek to circumvent the fated ebb and flow of the universe, and tap into, or completely enter into and meld with that unformed, timeless chaos. My perspective could be considered splitting hairs, but I do not believe that chaos is outside of the universe at all. I believe that the universe is chaos, and perception is the only thing that gives this world any structure. Similar to the quantum observer effect, but possibly more accurately akin to the procedural generation in video games, the act of observing alters the state of existence itself. Even if it begins purely as a change in photon interaction, as the eye has to absorb a certain amount of light for you to see, it cascades from there into a psychological concept of reality that is quite stubborn, to say the least. This inherently makes the world we see an illusion, akin to a dream state, or a reflection on water, and the true world is a chaotic fractal known as the noosphere, the sphere of all human thought. Anything we see and experience is a manifestation of that infinite fractal thought. This brings us to my favorite part of this discussion: nothing. Void. The abyss. Oftentimes in satanic circles, the void is mischaracterized by a simple lack of comprehension of how deep nothingness actually goes. Nothing, true nothing, means no time, no space, no light, no consciousness. It's not vacuum because that still implies space. It is not empty because that necessitates awareness and fullness, wherein nothing has no concept of either. If you were to approach nothing, you normally wouldn't be able to tell. The thought is that one of two things will happen when you approach the void. Either you see what is on the other side immediately, or you see your reflection. I am of the opinion that both occur, or more accurately, one and then the other. So, speaking purely on an astral, metaphysical, and esoteric level, consider life, consciousness, self, as a single point in vast nothingness. Our awareness, or perception, glides through the roiling sea of this undefined point of being, and the visions seen when looking inward towards this light of chaos are interpreted as our world, our life. As consequence, we create our ego out of necessity, so that we can process and experience the entirety of self, thus creating time and the concept of separation. So say we abandon this ego and we turn outward towards the edge of our existence. First off, immediately we start facing resistance because that's not the direction we have trained ourselves to face. This is new, dark, and scary. But say we manage to actually reach that edge, the nothing. The first thing we see is ourself, reflected. Oftentimes this is even more terrifying as we rarely recognize our true selves for what we are, only ever bite-sized pieces, easier to comprehend and accept that way. But this is the totality of self. This is what some would call the guardian of the abyss. This is Choronzon. Many people make the mistake of trying to subdue or fight Choronzon, considering it an aggressor, but the true means of approaching Choronzon successfully is with acceptance and understanding. A level head and an unswayed heart, not falling to the push and pull of duality. Eventually, Choronzon reveals the truth of our existence, that we are not a point of light in an endless void. We are not even infinite in and of ourselves. We are an illusion, a hologram on the event horizon of a black hole. We are simply a glistening reflection on the waters of the abyss, a shimmer on the scales of something greater, something entirely alien, unlike anything you will ever feel or experience in this life. It defies explanation and cannot be limited by words. Thus, I simply call this the other. That moment of contact with the outside intelligence of the other will invariably change your life, for better or worse. While the metaphors used for this process do vary, the work that I just described is one that many faiths describe to some extent, or have a parallel of. For some, the work ends with an understanding of self within the void, never reaching the abyss itself. For others, it ends with entrance into the abyss. For far too few more, it goes beyond. To worship the nothing is to face Choronzon head-on, and dive into the unknowable. To face the other is to fully accept the fact that we do not exist. We must embrace nothingness in the same way that the Hindu reveres the guru for lighting the path toward the divine. The very term for our spirituality being the left hand even comes from Hindu spirituality, in the form of Vamachara. The Satanist is nothing more than the Western expression of the Vamachara sadhana, up to and including Agora. The biggest difference is in our altogether Western tendency of trying to control everything, thus the variance in spirits, archetypes, and daemons that different occultists work with. We're all trying to maneuver our way through chaos and the void, to our own Choronzon, to the other that first called us to its side. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I hope that cleared up any confusion that may have come from the previous mention of the nothing after life. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, leave a comment below. Until next time, this has been A Satanic Perspective.